After I won 90,000 euros, my family hit me with guilt trips and greedy demands to pay it forward. But when I needed help moving, my dad said, "We're not your porters." And my sister snapped, "You're only good for money." I said, "Noted." Then I made a move they never saw coming. Their screaming voicemails? Just the start. I remember the exact moment my life changed. Or at least, I thought it had. It was a Tuesday, sometime around 4 in the afternoon. I was in the break room of the building where I worked security, small town place in Kansas. Barely anyone ever tried anything. I just clocked out and was scrolling through emails on my phone, mostly spam, when I saw the subject line, "Congratulations, you've won 90,000 euros. At first, I figured it was a scam. I mean, who wins that kind of money just like that? But something made me open it. And the logo at the top of the email matched the raffle I'd entered 6 months ago when a coworker dared me to play during our lunch break. National contest, nearly 10 million entries. I had forgotten all about it. But this was real. There was a confirmation code, a link to the official website, a number to call. I went through the steps with shaky fingers, half expecting the whole thing to crash or ask me to send Bitcoin. But after a 15-minute call with a woman named Rebecca who spoke like a lawyer and asked me to verify my details twice, she confirmed it. 90,000 euros, she said with a warm chuckle. That's about $96,000. After taxes, you're looking at about 85. I hung up the phone and just sat there. The vending machine buzzed behind me. My soda sat untouched. I felt this rush, like I'd been underwater for 27 years and suddenly came up for air. It wasn't enough to buy a mansion or quit working forever, but it was enough. Enough to stop feeling like a leech in my parents' house. Enough to maybe move out, start over, and finally breathe. I didn't tell anyone. I drove home, went straight to my room, and locked the door behind me. I sat on the edge of my bed and just stared at the wall, then laughed, quiet and to myself, like if I made too much noise, the universe might realize it made a mistake. My name is Darren. I'm 27. I live in Bookwood, Kansas, a nowhere town with more cows than people and a family that treats silence like love and sarcasm like conversation. My mom, Deborah, has never said she's proud of me, not once. My dad, Greg, mostly ignores me unless he needs help moving something heavy or wants someone to blame when the house is too quiet. And my sister, Megan, well, Megan treats me like background noise unless I'm holding something she wants. That night, we had a birthday dinner for my Uncle Jerry at Aunt Lynn's house. The usual dry roast and store-bought cake. I sat at the corner of the table, just listening, smiling politely, while Megan bragged about her boyfriend getting a promotion at the tire shop and Greg rolled his eyes at everything anyone under 30 said. It was going fine, boring, but fine, until Kyle, my cousin, leaned over and asked if he could use my phone to look up some actor's name from a show we were watching. Without thinking, I handed it to him, forgetting the tab I had left open. He saw the email. "Yo," he said, too loud. "What is this? You win something?" My stomach sank. I grabbed the phone back, but it was too late. "It's nothing," I muttered. Kyle grinned, the kind of grin that said he'd already decided it wasn't nothing. "Guys, Darren won a raffle or something. Like, big money. Look at this email. 90 grand. The table went quiet for a beat, then erupted. "What do you mean? 90 grand? Megan asked, wide-eyed. "Is that real?" Greg scoffed. "Probably a scam." Deborah was already reaching for her phone, whispering something into her church group chat. My aunt leaned over to Kyle to see the screen, and someone else asked if I was going to share the blessing. By the time I got home, my phone had 22 unread texts. "Megan, hey, can you help me and Logan with rent this month?" "Aunt Lynn, so happy for you, sweetheart. You know your cousin could use new braces." Even people I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me on Facebook, tagging me in posts like, "When family comes up, we come up together." I sat in my room, the glow of the phone lighting up my face, and felt the joy bleed out of me like air from a balloon. I had this tiny moment of freedom, but it was gone now. I wasn't Darren anymore. I was a walking ATM with a target on my back. And the money? It hadn't even hit my account yet. The first one to show up was Megan. Not even a full day had passed since Kyle opened his big mouth, and there she was on our front porch at 10 in the morning, knocking like it was urgent. I opened the door still half asleep, wearing yesterday's hoodie. "Morning," she said, breezing past me like she lived there. She dropped her purse on the table and helped herself to the coffee I hadn't finished making. I didn't even get a chance to speak before she got into it. "So, I was thinking," she started, pouring creamer into my cup like it was hers. "You know, Logan and I have been struggling ever since he got laid off from the tire shop. We're like 2 months behind on rent. And I know things were tight for you before, but now." She looked at me and gave that fake little smile she always used when she wanted something. "I just thought maybe it's time to do the right thing, you know? Help out." I stared at her, still trying to blink sleep out of my eyes. "What does that mean? The right thing?" Megan rolled her eyes like I was the idiot here. "You have all that money now, Darren. You could literally fix everything for us with a few clicks. And it's not like we're strangers. We're family." I didn't say anything. I just stared at the steam rising from my coffee. My throat felt tight. I hadn't even used the money yet. I hadn't made a single purchase, but they were already lining up like it was owed to them. That afternoon, I caught Mom on her phone in the kitchen, tapping away with her thumbs, her mouth pinched in that self-righteous smirk she always wore when she thought she was being clever. I glanced over her shoulder, and saw she was posting in her church WhatsApp group. So thankful for unexpected blessings. God always makes sure we are provided for. Some of us just have to remember to be generous in return. I didn't say anything. I just went back to my room and closed the door. But I could hear her in the hallway an hour later, laughing on the phone with Sister Connie, saying something about how her son had been blessed with abundance. That night, Dad slammed cupboards harder than usual while making himself a sandwich. Every movement was loud and pointed. The fridge door snapped. The butter knife clanged against the plate. He didn't say a word to me until I walked into the kitchen to grab a bottle of water. "You're really just gonna sit on it?" he muttered. I froze. "Sit on what?" Greg snorted, not even looking up. "Don't play dumb. You finally get something good and don't even think about how it could help your family. Real generous." I turned to leave. He added, "You didn't earn that, you know. Just got lucky." And there it was. Later that week, I brought up the idea of moving out. I figured if I said it gently, it might land better. "I've been thinking," I said at dinner, "about maybe getting a place of my own. Nothing crazy, just a small apartment. Space." Greg's fork hit his plate louder than it needed to. Deborah went still, like I'd just confessed to a murder. Megan, who had come by again for dinner like she lived there, narrowed her eyes. "You're moving out?" she asked, eyebrows raised. "Now that you've got money?" I nodded, swallowing hard. Greg leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "So that's it, huh? Soon as things look up, you just bail." I frowned. "It's not about bailing." "No," Megan cut in. "It's about being useful. You think you're too good for us now? What? You just want to go live alone in some fancy place and forget we exist?" I didn't respond. I couldn't, because nothing I said would have mattered. They had already decided I was their solution, their bailout, their exit plan. And the second I hinted that maybe I wanted something for myself, I became the traitor. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how fast they'd turned on me. The money hadn't changed me. It had just shown me who they already were, and I couldn't unsee it. I found the apartment on a Thursday morning after a night of barely any sleep. It wasn't much, just a one-bedroom in an older building on the edge of town. Beige carpet, a creaky sliding glass door, and a stove that had seen better days. But it had a balcony, and it was mine. I signed the lease without telling anyone. That weekend, I started packing, quietly. No big boxes, no commotion. Just a few bags at a time when no one was looking. I figured I'd move out in pieces, unnoticed. But some things I couldn't lift alone. So I did the one thing I swore I wouldn't. I asked for help. It was Saturday afternoon. Megan was on the couch scrolling through her phone. Greg sat at the kitchen table peeling an orange, chewing like the fruit had done something to offend him. "Hey," I said, "I've got a dresser and a couple of boxes I can't lift alone. If someone's around to help load it into the car, I'd appreciate it." Greg didn't even look up. "We're not your porters." I blinked. "I didn't mean." "I said we're not your porters," he snapped, tossing a piece of orange peel onto the table. Megan looked up from her phone, smirking. "Let me guess. You want help now? Thought you were big time now. Thought you had everything under control." I stared at her. She shrugged like it was obvious. "You're only useful when you're handing out money, not when you need anything back." I opened my mouth to say something, then closed it. The words dried up. There wasn't a fight. No shouting. No dramatic goodbye. I just stood there in that dim living room, surrounded by people who'd never once asked how I was doing, and I felt this blankness. Not anger, not sadness, just empty. "Noted," I said quietly. I picked up my duffel bag, walked to the front door, and stepped out. Nobody stopped me. Nobody asked where I was going. I didn't slam the door. I didn't need to. That night, I sat on the floor of my new apartment eating a gas station sandwich and listening to the sounds of the building creak and settle. It was the first peaceful moment I'd had in years, but it didn't last long. My phone lit up just after 10, then again, and again. Voicemails, texts, notifications from Facebook. "Megan, wow, so you're just gonna ghost your own family? After everything?" "Greg, you ungrateful little prick." "Deborah, you broke your father's heart. You abandoned your family for what? Freedom? Money? The devil's temptation is real, Darren. I hope you prey on it." More followed. Distant cousins, old neighbors, even Sister Connie from Mom's church group, all echoing the same thing. "You owe us." The guilt came in waves, and for a moment, I almost believed them. But then I looked around my new place. It was quiet. It was mine. No shouting, no manipulation, no one treating me like a wallet with legs. And I knew I'd done the right thing. They weren't mad because I left. They were mad because I stopped playing my part. That first night alone felt like exhaling for the first time in years. I laid on the floor with a borrowed air mattress and stared at the ceiling, feeling something that almost resembled peace. No banging cupboards, no passive-aggressive sighs, no background noise of expectation, just silence. But by morning, the guilt campaign was in full swing. I woke up to 17 notifications, voicemails, DMs, texts, even a new friend request from someone I didn't recognize. I listened to the first voicemail, Mom, sniffling into the phone, her voice thick with forced tears. "Your father didn't sleep last night, Darren. He's got chest pain, real stress. You think you're helping by doing this? You're tearing your family apart. For what? An apartment. Delete." Next message. "Kyle, of course. Bro, everyone's saying you dipped like some selfish punk. Not cool, man. Are you gonna step up and be a real man? or just keep running like a coward. Blocked. Then came the DMs, screenshots of mom's latest posts in her church group. Deborah Turner. When the devil whispers independence, he often disguises it as selfishness. Pray for those who abandon their family for temporary riches. The comments were full of clapping hand emojis and amen, sister. One woman offered to bring over soup. Someone else asked if the prodigal son had returned yet. It would have been funny if it wasn't so exhausting. I tried to brush it off, turned my phone face down, focused on building furniture and hanging a shower curtain. I tried to enjoy my cheap little lamp and the grocery store rotisserie chicken I ate off a paper plate. But the quiet was starting to feel crowded. By day 3, it wasn't just guilt. It was full-on performance art. Megan posted a boomerang of herself crying, literally crying, in her car. The caption read, "Some people only love you when you're useful. Remember that." I knew it was about me. I was tagged. The comments were what you'd expect. People don't appreciate real family anymore. You always give, and they take. I feel you, girl. But something weird happened then. I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel ashamed. I laughed, just once, but it came out of me without effort. It was also fake. Every voicemail, every text, every comment, it was like they were playing roles in a movie they thought I'd never walk out of. And the more I watched, the more I realized I'd been cast as the loyal fool. But the more I sat in that tiny apartment, the more the puzzle pieces clicked into place. Mom's rent panic, Greg's sudden stress, Megan's urgent requests, they weren't new. They'd been building up for months. Long before I won the money, they were drowning, and I had been the lifeboat they planned to use the second they saw me floating by. The prize wasn't the problem. It just exposed the plan. I didn't respond to any of them. Not the voice messages, not the tags, not even the fake concern from old church ladies I barely knew. I let the noise roll off me like water on a raincoat. Let them perform. Let them scream. Let them throw every guilt-drenched dart they could find. Because I'd already left the stage. And I wasn't coming back. It was the kind of petty idea that normally I'd shut down the second it entered my brain. But this time, I let it marinate. I was standing in line at the hardware store, picking up a cheap tool set for my new apartment, when I saw him, Terry Sanderson. He used to sit behind me in homeroom back in high school, now balding and wearing a stained polo with the logo for Sanderson Properties. That's when it clicked. Terry was Greg and Deborah's landlord. He recognized me immediately. Darren Turner. No way. Heard you hit the jackpot, man. Congrats. I smiled and nodded. Hey, funny question. Your property on Birch Street, the one with the blue shutters, you still renting that? He squinted. Yeah, Greg and Debbie's place, right? I nodded slowly. Are they current on rent? He looked away for half a second, then leaned in. Behind. 3 months. I've been giving them grace, but it's tight. I shrugged. What would it take to get first dibs when their lease runs out? He chuckled like it was a joke, but when he saw I wasn't laughing, he nodded. Come by the office Monday. It felt petty, cruel, maybe, but more than anything, it felt symbolic. That house wasn't a home, it was a cage. I'd lived in that place my entire life and never once felt like I belonged there. So if they were going to lose it, and if they'd always treated me like a burden within it, I figured maybe it was time to flip the script. A few days later, Megan showed up at my apartment without warning. No text, no call, just loud knocking, and that fake cheery voice she used when she wanted something. Hey, so I was kinda hoping we could talk, she said, pushing past me before I could even answer. She scanned the room like she was taking inventory. It's cute in here, she muttered, real humble. I didn't respond. She sighed dramatically, then sat on the edge of my couch like it offended her. Listen, Logan and I are getting evicted. We were thinking maybe we could crash here a few weeks, just till we get back on our feet. I blinked. You want to move in with me? Just for a little while, she said quickly. We're family. I leaned against the wall. You mean the family that said I was only good when I was paying? That family. Her eyes narrowed. Oh my God, are you seriously still on that? Yeah, I said. Turns out, I am. She stood up, furious now. Wow. You let money turn you into a cold bastard. I walked to the door and opened it. I learned it from you. She stomped out without another word. Not long after, Greg called me. I didn't answer, so he left a voicemail. I don't know who the hell you think you are, but you owe us. We raised you. We let you live under our roof for 27 years. You think you can just walk away and leave us in the dirt? I saved the message. Then I blocked his number. That night, I shut off my phone completely and filled out the paperwork for Terry. The lease wouldn't expire for another 6 weeks, but that was fine. I wasn't in a rush. They tried to make me their safety net, so I decided to take the net away. And this time, I'd be the one deciding who got to feel safe. It started like everything else did, with a text from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. It was a screenshot, a GoFundMe link. The title in big bold letters, Emergency Family Crisis. Please help us stay in our home. Below it was a photo of Greg and Deborah standing on their porch, looking tragically weathered. The shutters were crooked. The yard hadn't been mowed. Deborah wore her Sunday tears and Greg looked like someone had just run over his ego. The description was a masterpiece of half-truths and sanctimony. After a series of financial hardships and being let down by someone we trusted, our family is facing eviction. We've always helped others in need. Now we're asking for that same compassion. They didn't say my name, but they didn't have to. Is this about you? The text read. It was from Trent, a guy I used to work with back when I still had a night shift and dignity. I clicked the link. Within minutes, I scrolled past donation after donation. $20 here, $50 from a church member. Even Sister Connie chimed in with, Praying for your sweet family. Hope your son finds his way again. That one burned. So I did something I didn't think I'd do. I commented. It wasn't long or angry. Just a single line. They've been behind on rent for 4 months. The trusted person is their son, who they tried to exploit the second he came into money. Ask them how they really got into this mess. It was up for exactly 7 minutes before it got deleted, but that was enough. By then, at least a dozen people had seen it, screenshotted it, and started whispering. Small towns don't forget when someone makes a scene, and they really don't forget when someone calls that scene a lie. I got a notification an hour later. The GoFundMe had been unpublished. Then came the fallout. First, Deborah's wrath. She left a voicemail for minutes long, crying, wailing, almost. I can't believe you would shame your own mother like this. After all I've done for you. Do you know how that made me look in front of my prayer group? She never mentioned what she'd done to me. Next was Megan, FaceTiming me while fake tears clung to her cheeks. Her mascara looked like it had been smudged with intent. Do you feel powerful now, Darren? She sniffled. You humiliated us. You humiliated Dad. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said flatly. Just freer. She hung up. The real spectacle came that night. Greg showed up at my building. I saw him through the peephole, standing there in his wrinkled jeans, holding a brown folder like it contained divine judgment. I didn't open the door. He started banging. Open the damn door, he shouted. We need to talk. I stayed quiet. My phone sat on the table, already recording. Just in case. You can't hide forever, he yelled. You can't erase your family just because you've got a little money in your pocket. Then he tried it. I'm here about a package, he said suddenly, in a calm voice. It's for Darren Turner. I'm the delivery driver. That's when I called security. I watched from the window as the building security guy came out, Benny, the old retired cop who wore mirrored shades even at night. He walked Greg right off the property. Greg shouted something as he left. I couldn't make it out, but I knew the tone. It was the sound of a man who'd lost control of the story and didn't know what to do when the audience stopped clapping. And I wasn't in his show anymore. The lease ended on a rainy Thursday. I didn't plan it that way, but it felt fitting. Gray skies, damp sidewalks, that kind of weather where the whole world feels like it's between stories. I drove over just after noon, mostly out of curiosity. Part of me wondered if they'd already left. I wasn't expecting a confrontation. I just wanted to see the place one more time. The house I'd grown up in. The place where I'd learned to keep quiet, to stay small, to apologize for existing. I parked across the street and saw them right away. Megan was on the porch, dragging a plastic bin down the steps, her face flushed and angry. Deborah stood by the door in a long coat, hair flat from the humidity, holding a small box like it contained the last of her pride. Greg was at the curb, hands on his hips, glaring at the moving van that hadn't shown up yet. They looked smaller somehow, not just physically, but diminished, like the weight of the truth had finally settled on their shoulders. I got out of the car. Megan saw me first. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. Of course, she muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Of course he shows up now. Deborah turned slowly, giving me that look she always gave when she wanted to appear motherly but had no warmth to offer. Darren, she said softly, like I was some old friend she hadn't seen in years. We didn't expect you. I didn't answer. I just walked past them, up the porch steps, and knocked on the door. Terry opened it. Ready? He asked. I nodded. Got the lease. He handed it to me on a clipboard. I signed without hesitation. No ceremony. No handshake. Just ink and paper. Terry walked back to his truck, leaving me alone with it. Megan stepped forward, a hand on her hip. You're seriously moving into this place? I didn't look at her. Yeah, you know what that makes you, right? She said, voice shaking. A damn vulture. I met her eyes for the first time in weeks. No, I said quietly. It makes me the one who stopped letting you feed on me. She scoffed and turned away, grabbing her bag and stomping down the steps. Greg said nothing, just stared at me, jaw tight, eyes full of that same cold disapproval he always wore, like I was still 12 and late coming home. Deborah finally stepped closer, her voice suddenly soft. Maybe we could talk later. Just one last time. Just you and me. I didn't move. Talk about what? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She just stared at me like she was waiting for me to blink first. I've heard enough, I said. I walked through the door. Inside, it felt strange. The rooms were hollowed out, the furniture gone, the air stale, but it was quiet. I closed the door behind me and leaned against it for a second. Outside, I could hear Megan arguing with Greg about a box she'd left behind. I didn't open the door. I didn't offer to help. I didn't say goodbye. They tried to use this house to trap me. Now I was locking it behind them. And for the first time, it felt like mine. Not because I bought it, not because I signed the lease, but because I chose to be here. And they didn't get to choose anymore. The silence didn't last. It never does with people like them. 2 days after I signed the lease, the messages started pouring in again, like clockwork. First from Deborah. I know things got tense, but we're still your family. Your father isn't well. He's barely sleeping. I know you don't want to hear it, but we need to find a way back to each other. Then from Megan. You win. Okay. You got the house. You made your point. Are you done punishing us yet? I didn't reply. They kept coming. Church people, old neighbors, distant cousins who hadn't said a word to me in years now suddenly reaching out in love. Family's not perfect, but it's all we've got. Your mom's been crying every night. Don't let money change who you are. I blocked them all. I set my phone to do not disturb and only kept a short list of contacts. Terry, the landlord. Benny from the security desk. and a guy from work who helped me find a decent used couch. Every time I saw another message come through, some veiled guilt trip or fake olive branch, I just swiped it away. They weren't trying to reconcile. They were trying to reset the game. The old version of me would have taken the bait, would have apologized, would have transferred money out of guilt and called it generosity, would have believed that silence meant healing instead of calculation. But not anymore. The last straw came in the form of a selfie. Megan, red-eyed, fake crying, staring into the camera like she was auditioning for some emotional indie drama. The caption read, "Some people only love you when you have nothing, but the second you get something, they disappear. Hashtag money changes people, hashtag still here." And she tagged me, publicly. I stared at it for maybe 5 seconds. Then I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was desperate, because she thought she could shame me back into submission with a hashtag. I opened the app, hit block, and never looked back. That afternoon, I sat in my new place, bare walls, secondhand furniture, half a pizza on a paper plate, and felt calm. Not happy, not victorious, just calm. The kind of calm that comes after a storm finally breaks, and you realize you survived it. No more pretending, no more hoping they'd change, no more rehearsing arguments in the shower. I didn't know them peace. I didn't know them closure. I owed myself freedom, and for the first time in my entire life, I had it. No apologies, no explanations, just me, and that was enough.